Stallman originally intended to produce the core of the operating system, but Torvalds got to it first, and so the two were blended. What most people refer to as Linux today, some people call GNU Linux, to show that Linux is really the core operating system plus a vast set of tools that run on top of the core to make a full operating system. Clay Christensen wrote a book called The Innovator's Dilemma, and then another one called The Innovator's Solution. He described what happens in markets, technology markets in particular, when a disruptive technology comes along and uproots an established vendor. Christensen defined a disruptive technology as any solution that is sufficiently cheaper or better than the status quo to effectively unseat people's inertia and make them leave an established vendor. Well, remember that at one time Windows was the underdog. Unix was king. Windows came in not in critical systems, not in the data center, but on the desktop. They, of course, made their foothold on the desktop. And it was technology that was much cheaper, and it was good enough for that purpose. It then marched its way up market to the data center and everywhere else. Linux is similar as an underdog to Windows at the time of the PC revolution, except that Linux did not get its foothold on the desktop. It got its foothold on the fringes of the internet. So really with web servers and with the Apache web server. So not just the operating system, but the operating system plus a piece of software that served a purpose. When the web was new, marketing departments didn't have control over it. Usually there was no budget. Frequently people took a reused, recycled machine, installed Linux because they had no budget and it was free, installed Apache and got started with the web server. So it slipped in under the corporate radar, and then it's moved from that foothold into infrastructure servers. It's no longer, it's definitely considered mainstream now to have Linux as a file server, Linux as a firewall, Linux as a DNS server, Linux as a web server. So now we're seeing a jump more into that market and then beginning to be into the desktop market. I'm fully convinced that we will see Linux march its way up market in the same way that Windows did.